It's Lucy Bainbridge, and I'm here today with Jo Munday. She's my friend, and she's also a communication coach. She helps businesses and individuals confidently share their message and find their voice in an authentic way. So I'm talking to her today because she's got some really powerful insights that she's got to share about how she moved from someone who was quite anxious and used to struggle with being at home with themselves to now being someone who has overcome a lot of fear and is now able to public speak and do videos like this and move forward in her life. So I'm just going to interview Jo because I do think that she's got a lot to say, and whenever she shares, it's really beautiful, and it's also really, authentic when she shares, like really it comes from a really natural place. So she's holding a webinar, like a virtual retreat actually, in about a week's time, and so I just wanted her to talk about her experience. So if you wanted to, you could come on this retreat. Okay, so hi Jo.
Hi Lucy, thanks for that intro, that was lovely.
Yeah, it was a bit long-winded, but hey. I just wanted to ask you first of all, so what did it used to be like for you? What was it like for you before you started feeling better about yourself? Like what did you used to struggle? How did you used to struggle?
Well, I think I've always just felt, for as long as I can remember really, like a little bit on edge, and that would be more extreme in certain situations, whether I'd be sort of under pressure in some way, whether that was at work or doing things like speaking or anything like that. But what I would notice and what kind of, I suppose, first got me to try and kind of think perhaps something was wrong or something, I could do something about it, was the fact that I would just wake up and I'd immediately feel anxious, and I hadn't even had a thought for the day, so there wasn't anything I could pin it on, and that was something I kind of got used to, and it was just a normal part of my life, but it was something, and I'd seen a few therapists and things like that, and it had never really resolved. So and I kind of thought I was quite unusual with that, and I think with the journey that I've been on, and also we know each other through our coaching and how that has changed for us, it made me realize that actually there are lots of people in that similar situation, and that's why I kind of want to share and talk about it, because what I've seen, and I know what you've seen as well, has really helped. Just I've just let go of a lot of that sort of generalized anxiety that I'd found there was no other way to sort of get rid of it, whether that was through drinking or traditional kind of psychotherapy. None of those things had really helped me.
Yeah, I think what you just said about it being, when you think it's just you, that really makes it much worse, doesn't it? So when you start realizing, oh, actually it's not abnormal, like other people have these thoughts or these really stressful feelings, it kind of takes the power out of them, doesn't it? Which is really good. Yeah. So what are you like now? Can you give a specific situation where you think, right, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I just wouldn't have been able to do that, and now I can do that?
I think just being myself around people I don't know very well, for example. I would, whether that's going to a party, a meeting, any kind of, like, just pick an example really. There were so many actually, it's kind of hard to pick. like doing something like this, I just wouldn't have even tried to do it because it would have just been too petrifying.
Yeah.
And also to kind of feel that I could actually share something about myself honestly and vulnerably without kind of just I just had a lot of judgment about what people would think of me, or it was just much more of a concern. So I would be like, what are they thinking about me? Do they like me, etc., whatever. I can't say that, I can't say this. And now that's just kind of, either I have the thought and I just think, well, it doesn't really matter anyway, or that thought just doesn't really occur. It's kind of a sort of a gentle kind of softening, I would say, of that sort of inner harsh critic that says, oh, don't do that, or do, you know, that person doesn't like you, or what are they thinking? They must be thinking something terrible.
And so is it that it doesn't matter anymore, or is it that those thoughts don't happen anymore?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it is possible to let go of a lot of your judgment because it's just a repetitive thought that can just end its repetition. It doesn't have to go on forever, and that's through insight. We have an insight about something, which is just a new perspective on something, and it just becomes, it's not relevant anymore. So you know, we all have insights all the time, whether that's starting a new relationship or having a child or losing someone that you love. You just start to have a different perspective on life, and that's what's happened with the understanding that I share and that we work with. It's a kind of encouraging those insights about yourself to happen. So it's encouraging that process of just letting go of thoughts that were bothering you in the past that now don't bother you. So I've let go of a lot of things, but I've also, things still come up. So I do still have insecurities about lots of things, but rather than taking it on as this thing about who I am and just believing it all, it's just more like, well, that's a thought, and that thought is going to pass, because that's what thoughts do. They just come and then they go again. And it's kind of not just getting so kind of caught up in this kind of thought that feels so real. It's just kind of like going, oh, well, that's there, and I can move on, and I can still, you know, do an interview with you even if I'm feeling a bit nervous, or I can still go and meet that person, and it might come up, but it will go. So it's not such a big deal.
Yeah. Was it like a sideline effect, or did you go into this searching for like a fix to this problem? Was it a fix because you felt like you just couldn't go on with the anxiety or the feeling unconfident, or was it like it was something else, and then that was a sideline of it, that was a sideline effect?
Yeah, I mean, I was aware I was like unnecessarily anxious, and I was always kind of looking for that peace of mind. It was always like, surely life's got to be a bit easier than this, and I remember I went with one of the first coaches I went to see. I kind of filled out this form, and he was like, what do you want? And I just said, and I wrote it down, and I was like, inner peace. And I just kind of like looked at this bit of paper that said inner peace, and I was like, wow, like it just kind of like actually like asking myself that question and spending some time thinking about what I did want was a kind of revelation in itself, because it was like, wow, it's got to a stage where I don't want like loads of like, you know, materialistic things. I just want this easier sense within. And so that was the kind of route. And there was things that I wanted to I was looking for sort of a bit more meaning in my life, and I lost my mum a few years before, so it was a bit more like I didn't want to accept things in my life that I had done before, because I'd seen how short life was and how fragile it was, and that was a kind of a time to like to just decide, actually I do, you know, what do I actually really want from this life, and it, yeah, so it was always that direction. and ultimately, I suppose it was more of a hope than a. I wasn't very confident I could actually get there. I wasn't particularly confident that I could feel that. I just didn't know how to feel that, and I didn't honestly think that that was going to shift, but it was there, and I think I am a sort of seeker and explorer, and I sort of like didn't want to leave any stone unturned. So that was a kind of driver behind doing various kind of coaching and personal development type things to kind of actually and ultimately the answer is always only ever going to be going back to yourself and looking within and realizing you've got the answers are there within yourself, but sometimes it's
so what was different then? So what was different? It's just occurring to me, you said you went to counselling, you had counselling. What was different about this? What was different about when you discovered this clarity, this 3 principles way of thinking? What was the difference?
I think the main difference is realizing and hearing that you've always got everything that you need, and you don't need to add stuff. You don't need to do a confident technique to be confident. You don't need to add stuff to yourself to make you like better or whole or complete. You already are that, and this is about actually letting go of stuff, letting go of noise in your mind, letting go of kind of things that aren't really helping you, and because basically you are completely whole, and you don't, there's nothing you need to add to yourself to be like a better human. You like, there's, it kind of sounds a bit naff, but it's like everyone is perfect as they are, and it's just a kind of a waking up to that and an unveiling of that, and the more you do, the more you realize that you just, a profound deeper acceptance of yourself and love comes through, which is just kind of unveils like more and more beautiful feelings within, that are kind of just for you. They're not, there's no, you don't need to do anything or be with anyone or any particular thing to feel that. There's just like kind of abundantly available, and it's a kind of ongoing process of seeing that and letting that like almost like flower, like a blossom in your life.
Yeah, because I think we're so conditioned to wanting an action or a technique to do, but even though we know really it's not going to be that, it can't be that, can it? It can't, like, oh, I'm just going to wake up in the morning, speak to myself 5 times in the mirror, and then suddenly I'm like, you know, Superman. It's like it just doesn't ever feel right. But we like to be in a rush, don't we? We like to feel like, well, we just need to get rid of it now. We just need to have it gone now, like as if it's. But I suppose it's a slower. It's a slower, and it's not looking in the same place, is it? It's not looking. It's kind of moving away from where you want to go and fix it. It's actually moving away from that, isn't it? It's like you have to move back. You have to settle down. You can't be in your head trying to change the situation. So like thinking on top of thinking about how you feel, and then trying to change your experience when it's happening. It's like you have to kind of trust that you're going to come, that you're going to get it, but not because you're going for it. It's like you have to kind of step back a bit, don't you, and just kind of like allow something to take over.
And it's interesting because if you allow even the most uncomfortable feelings, so yeah, rather than waking up feeling anxious and thinking, oh, I must do this big affirmation and you know, tell myself I'm okay or whatever, actually just letting that be, letting that feeling be, and just let it, like just not resisting that then actually you sort of, you stop being scared of your own feelings, and it's just there, and it's a feeling, and it for some reason it actually helps it move and transform into something easier. It's almost like our own resistance to a negative feeling keeps it locked in place, but when we let it just be there, it seems to just move and transform, and I've noticed that with more difficult feelings like anger or sadness or whatever, it's just and I can go, oh, well, I don't want to feel this, I want to feel something else, but actually just being with that feeling, it's just a feeling. There's actually, you stop freaking yourself out with an uncomfortable feeling and just feeling.
Which is where the ultimate teaching is here, is that it's not outside, it's not because of the circumstance, it's not because of the surroundings, it's not because you're an idiot, it's not because of any of these, it's just an habitual experience that's arising, and that's all it is. There's no meaning to it. It doesn't mean that the person in front of you thinks you're an idiot. It doesn't mean that you are you're unsafe. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that you're experiencing an anxious feeling. That's it. So if someone's listening to this and they're like I've tried everything, I need, I don't really believe, what would you say to someone who doesn't really believe that it's possible for them to feel better in certain situations?
I suppose we can only ever talk about our own experience and the experience of the people that we know, and I've just seen amazing shifts, and it's like, yes, I was in that place where I'd kind of resign myself a bit to that kind of very anxious, depressed kind of thoughts, and I know of many stories of people, from really extreme kind of states of mind mentally to actually have turned that around, and to have found that peace and calm within, and ultimately, like, we always have, because it's our natural state to feel that ease, to feel that peace, because it's the natural state of everyone. It's like it's the natural human state to feel connected, to feel love, compassion. All those feelings are there for us. So it's kind of like, it's not, the starting point isn't as interesting as the kind of the way we just are, like our makeup as humans has that ability in our DNA. So just kind of like letting ourselves feel that and come back to the simplicity of that.
Lovely. Okay, so tell us about your online virtual retreat that's happening.
So on April the 10th, I'm going to be talking with Jo Munday, who's a transformational coach from LA, and we're going to be just exploring these kind of topics, like what does it mean to be really at ease with yourself, at home with yourself, we're calling it. It's for you if you feel like you lack maybe confidence, or in social situations, perhaps you want to just be a bit more familiar with a feeling of comfort, and just being massively just okay with yourself. Like, this is our kind of right to be that. It's such a kind of fundamental and so I'd love anyone who feels like there's that kind of like resistance or something grating within, and they want to just kind of explore that and how that can shift. So yeah, love to be there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I really, if you're listening to this, I really recommend you just sign up for that retreat. There's going to be a recording, is there? So if they don't have it on the night, I mean, obviously try and be there on the night, because it's always more powerful when you're live and you can maybe ask questions, exactly, etc. But if not, then there's going to be a recording. And if you want to sign up for that, the link is going to be below this video. But I highly recommend that you do, because when you just see a glimpse of, when you just see a glimpse through what you're already thinking about how life is going to be, and if what needs to happen is a break in the outlook that you're already happening, and if you just get a glimpse of that, that can be so powerful. So it doesn't need to be like an uphill struggle, and so I'm really hoping that that's what this retreat will do for you. So okay, lovely to speak to you, Jo.
And you. Thanks, Lucy. Thanks so much.